Hey, HiFi 333ers, this is Seth here. Hope week 2's going well for you. Hope you're starting to ask some good questions. We're going to start by calculating index of difficulty first, and then the average movement time. I figure it's just easier to show you how to do this than try to explain it. And so what we're going to do is this index of difficulty equals the log base 2 of 2 times the distance, which we have here, divided by the width. Okay, so in the case of width to distance 2, we have 4 divided by 2, which equals 2, right? And so now to solve for that index of difficulty, we have 2 equals 2 to the x, right? So in order for this to work, we need x to equal 1, okay? So then if we go through it here, we have 2 times 2, which is 4. Okay, so target distance times 2, which is 4, divided by 1. So that means that this is going to be 2. And then 4 times 2 is 8. 2 to the third is 8. Whoops, there we go. And then 2 to the fourth is 16, and 2 to the fifth is 32. So you see the pattern now, 2, 3, 4. And if I went really fast for you, you can always come and ask one of us GEs in office hour about how to do that. This is the only time you're going to be doing log base 2 of anything or taking logs in this class period. Okay, so next we want the average movement time. Oh, before I go on and do that, the index of difficulty is unitless. So you won't be adding units such as milliseconds or say newtons or joules or like any any sort of unit. But here for average movement time, we do have a unit, and that's going to be milliseconds because it's milliseconds per movement that we are calculating here. Okay, so the total length of that trial as y'all did it was 20,000 milliseconds. Okay, so I can start by going like this and then dividing by, okay, see, good, I made a mistake. So my first mistake was not putting an equal sign here. That tells Excel that it's going to be a formula. Alright, and then there's something else that I'm going to do. I'm going to put total time right here in milliseconds. Okay, and then what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take this, or I'm going to insert a column over here, and then I'm going to take this column and I'm going to put it right there, and then that total time is then going to be in milliseconds is going to be 20,000. Okay, there we go. You don't need that comma there, so I've got 20,000 here. Now what I want to do is I want to put an equal sign here. So now this tells Excel that I'm going to be using a formula. Okay, and so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click onto that cell, and we'll be doing this quite a few times throughout the term, but we're going to lock this cell into place with dollar signs. Okay, so now this tells Excel that I only want values from this cell, and whatever types of multiplication that we're going to do, or division, inverse multiplication, that we're going to do is going to take from this cell A2, okay, which is this cell right here, A2. Alright, so then I'm going to divide it by this guy, E2, and I'm going to hit enter. So now that's 190 milliseconds is the average movement time. And I would like to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to decrease the number of decimal places that I see. There we go. So now I have a couple of options. I can come in here and I can take this formula. I can copy and whoops. I just hit escape to get out of there, and I can paste that formula in there, and I can highlight cell E3, and I can do that. Or what I can do is I can take this formula and I go down to this bottom right side where I have a black cursor, drag down, and there we go. And now they're all formatted the way I would like. Ooh, that, well, okay, yeah, no, duh, that turned out really nice. But it's just a nice round number, that's all. So now I have all my data points in there. And so now I need to now I need to graph these. I need to plot them. So I'm going to take my index of difficulty, and I'm going to hold down my control button on a Windows machine, and then average movement time. Okay? And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to insert a scatter plot. Okay? It's going to look should look really nice, something like this. So first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of these lines here. I don't like them. They're not very helpful. I'm going to add a chart element. Let's see, axis title, primary horizontal, and then I'm going to add a primary vertical axis. Okay. So again, that's label, chart elements, axes, titles, primary horizontal, primary vertical. So then I have my average movement speed, or whoops, no, come back. So something like that happens, I'm control Zing, and that's not helping because somehow, some way I screwed it up big time. So I'll just come back here, and then I'll add that. I can make my plot area smaller, so I'm not running that axis title into the frame. Okay, and so all I did there to make that smaller was just to go, whoa, I am messing everything up right now. Oh my gosh. So I can move it around like this if I need to, but that's fine. So what I'm going to do now is, hopefully, if I don't screw this up again, we're going to go average movement time. Whoop, capitalize that because it is a title, and milliseconds. So there are my units. Okay, so now I've got my index of difficulty. There's my index of difficulty. It is unitless, so that's fine there. Okay, so now there are just a couple other things that I can do, like housekeeping wise. I can make that font larger, and I can increase the size of this. I'll make this font larger. Okay, I'm trying to make it as easy as I can for my GE, so they know that this is my own work. There we go. 12, and then I'll up that to whatever that one is, 20. Okay, and then I'll actually decrease the size of that just a little bit. There we go. Okay, cool. So now that I've got this all taken care of, I can get rid of that title. It's unnecessary. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click on my data, and I'm going to right click on my data, and I'm going to add my trend line. Okay, so I'm not going to set my intercept. It's unnecessary for this, but what I will do is I will show my equation, and I will also display my R-squared value on the chart, showing how good the fit is of this line. So if you're when you include these on your graph, you absolutely need to make sure that you explain what these values mean in your lab report. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the size of these just a little bit, and then increase, let's see, I'll come here, and then for the marker, the colors, so like if I want to change the color, I could do that here, change it to black, or whoops, marker options, type, could change, let's see, yep, change it to a square there, or do other things like that, increase the size of my marker. I'm going to go back to the circle. And then yeah, I can change the, well, I'm not going to actually join them because I want to see this, I want to see this line here, but we can increase the thickness of that line, okay? And all these manipulations are done simply by, oh, it changed the outline. So if I'm sure if I were to go to fill and go to black, there we go. See? Okay. So all of these are under marker. You can change the outline to the border. You can change the fill. Here you can go to options. You can change the size. If there was a line in between, you can click on the line. You can change the line width. Here you can change the color of that line. Transparency, dash type, round. We could go there and change that to that. So you have tons of options to mess around with and to make this graph your own. Okay, cool. So if you have any other questions, come to us during office hours. We're always more than happy to help you. So yeah, best of luck with graphing and everything for Lab 2, and we'll talk to you later for Lab 3.